Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Inside Movies Galore. I am your host, David Streggy, and here in the room I have my buddy Forrest.
Hey, Dave. Always great. Always good to be on the show.
Definitely. And also in the room I have guest director and actor Joel D. Wynkoop. Thank you for coming on and having the time to let me have a chat with you.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you guys for having me. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got involved in the independent film industry?
I think when I was a kid, actually, well, first of all, I was always dressing up, playing Batman when I was, 8, 9 years old. My neighbor actually made me the cape and stuff, so I'd have a Batman cape instead of a towel. And then I think just as time went on into the 70s, I was watching $6 Million Man, and Planet of the Apes is really big in those days. And I think I was, that's what it was, of course. How can I forget this? Godzilla and King Kong. When I saw those movies, and then I got a magazine, Filmland. That's kind of a neat story. That was way back in the 70s, like 75. These truck drivers were at my neighbor's house, and my friend Jim Marty and I were out in front, and the truck drivers said, "Here, kid, this is something to keep you up at night." And he threw me a Famous Monsters of Filmland.
Okay.
And then a Dracula and Frankenstein. And then I started watching Horror Incorporated. And so I was interested in the monsters and stuff. But then in the later 70s, I got moved to Lake Park, Florida, Lake Park, Florida, and met up with my neighbor who had the same interests. And then when I was reading about Godzilla and Kong, I found out that Kong was an armature that they moved, and animated it. And then Godzilla was a guy in a suit, which I didn't figure that out on my own. Maybe I thought there really was Godzilla. And then my dad said I could buy you a camera if you want to, make your own movies. I said, that'll be neat to do that. And he bought me a Super 8 camera, got the guy to throw in 2 cartridges of Super 8 film, a tripod, and batteries. And I took that home, and with my neighbor, Steve Campbell, I think we made our first movie was Monster Owl. We called it Ghoulanium, and we took all our dinosaurs. And one of the kids next door comes running over, and his name's Tim Ritter. And he goes, "Here, Joel." He's about 8. And he goes, "Here's my dinosaur. You can use it in your movie." And I said, "Oh, cool. Thanks." And then before you knew it, then we did the Invisible Boy meets the Invisible Transport Boy meets the Bionic Boy. Because everybody the Bionic, with $6 Million Man. So we made a whole Super 8 movie. It was an hour long, and in those days you had to splice it. It wasn't like editing. You took a piece of tape and you put it over the film, and you flipped it and did the same on the other, and you ran it through the little projector. And I remember having the film laid out all over my floor one day, and my friend Mike Greenberg comes over, and he was looking at me. He sees all this film all over my floor, and he grabs and goes, "Yay!" And I go, "What are you doing? Stop!" Film wrinkles, and then you'll tear that in half trying to get it apart. And so that's pretty much what got me started in that. And then I had moved away from the area, and then I think I started Tim Ritter doing stuff, because after that he and he had appeared in my Robin, and then he appeared in my Bionic Boy meets the Invisible Boy, and he wasn't doing anything then. He's like 8. But later on, I think when he was 14 or 15, I think his mom got him a Super 8 camera, and he started making movies. And I always tell him that to this day. I go, I think we had a conversation not too long ago. I said, did I get you interested in that? He goes, I think you did, because you put me in your movies. And then it was about 6 years later, then he got a camera. So that both kind of, started.
So basically inspired each other. So you inspired each other, basically.
I think so, yeah.
Okay. So I'm gonna ask you about your directing career first, and then we'll branch out into your acting career. Is that okay?
Okay. Yeah, fine.
So the first project that it seems like you got involved with is Twisted Illusions, which is an anthology, correct?
Yeah, that is the first time after I did all this Super 8 stuff. I had moved away from the neighborhood, came back. Then Tim was making movies. He did Day of the Reaper. And then we got together and we said, we should make something. And Tim was like, we have to have something like a name. And I think Tim came up with Twisted. And then I was like, we should have something, Twilight Zone-ish, something Illusions. And he goes, oh, that's it. He goes, Twisted Illusions. And that became not only the company name, but that was the name of the VHS short, which we put together. And right away, pretty much as soon as we got it out, we sent it to Jeff Miller at Peerless Films. And that started the whole ball rolling for Truth or Dare.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So what was it that you contributed to Twisted Illusions? Was it just a segment, or did you direct more than one?
No, Twisted Illusions, as soon as we started that, Tim said, well, I'll come up with 3 stories. And then Joel, he goes, you come up with 3 stories. And then Tim did the wraparound, which included Tim and I in the wraparound. And then I wrote 3 stories myself. He wrote 3 stories. Okay. And then I directed mine. He directed his. Okay. If I remember, I think he directed my Tape Terror. Or I think he did it with, I think we directed our own segments. And, but yeah, so and then the funny thing about that is we actually held auditions. And it's funny because we would go to the Palm Beach Mall and walk around and hand out business cards that said 13th Dimensional Video Near. We'd be like, and we'd leave signs, we'd put them up, and the security would come behind us and tear them down. They would say Twisted Illusions is hiring for a new movie. And then we had auditions in a parking lot one time with all these actors came to the parking lot. And when I got back to my apartment, Tim was saying, well, we met some good guys, but I really need somebody cool to play that Mike Strawber character. And I was like, well, what do you mean? He goes, well, I really want the Mike Strawber to be yelling and screaming. And that one guy was kind of okay, but it's not like I wanted it. And then so I took the script and I said, well, what do you mean, like this? Like, I'll do it. I'll rip my tongue out. I'll rip it out. And he goes, oh, man. He goes, that's cool. You got to do that. And I go, you want me to do it? I had no plans to act. And because last thing I did was my Super 8 stuff. And so I go, oh, you want me to act in it? And he goes, yeah, man, you'd be cool doing Mike Strawber. And I go, okay, cool. So I ended up, doing Mike Strawber role in his Truth or Dare segment. And then, so we put them all together. We had 6 stories with a big wraparound. And we put it, I remember going out, we had black and white covers. And we scotch taped the covers onto the plastic VHS tape boxes. And then we were like, this ain't good. We got to. And then I went to a Xerox place, which nowadays they're everywhere. But then, I mean, anything you can get so much easier now than you could in the 80s. I'm going around trying to find this, place today. I would tell the guy, is this a laser copy? And he goes, look, get out of here with that laser copy. It's the same damn thing. And I go, okay, good man. So I drew a picture of a monster coming out of a VHS player, and we put that into the, we had the ones now, we had the little shield on the outside. You could slip the cover in, and then we took it around and sell it to video stores. I mean, we drove just like Hawaiian Tropic, how they started out. They put their stuff in bottles, and they drove it around, and they just became more of a big marketing than we ever did. But that's how we did it. We drove it around, went into the video stores, and I'd say, hey, I'm Joel Wynkoop. This is my partner, Tim Ritter. We got this movie, Twisted Illusions. We'd like to, sell it. It's $20. And they're like, $20? And, but we did pretty good. 2 guys on the road. We went all over from, I think I was in West Palm then. And we would drive up to Jupiter and kind of beyond that. And then we'd go down into Jensen Beach and going down towards more outside of Palm Beach, Miami, towards Miami, not all the way down for Twisted Illusions. But that's how it all started. And then, once we did everything we could possibly do with it, that's when we had sent it to Jeff Miller, and he wanted to back us to do Truth or Dare. Okay.
Now, Ron Bonk is in charge of Sub Rosa Cinema. How did it end up having a home there? I think Twisted Illusions, and I think a lot of your earlier films ended up going to Sub Rosa Cinema?
Yeah, it was at the time it was Salt Lake City Home Video before he was Sub Rosa.
Right,
he didn't pick up Twisted Illusion. I don't think Ron did anything with us until Creep, I think, because I remember Ron saying to Tim and Ron saying to me, Creep was the best shot on video movie, at the time. And that's when I think he was still Salt Lake City Home Video going into Sub Rosa Studios. So he took Creep first, and then the other ones slowly started to come out.
Okay. So and how has the reception of Twisted Illusions been since you guys put it together? How have people responded to it?
Well, I remember when it first came out. I remember, going around to the video stores because we had done Day of the Reaper too, or Tim did, and then that's how Tim and I got back together. I told him after we hooked back up on the phone, he goes, "Well, I'm selling this movie, Day of the Reaper," and I told him, I said, "Look, I'll help you with that if you want." And he's like, "Oh, thanks." So I went over to his house, helped him package it and everything, and then I had a friend of mine that had a shrink wrap machine at Video Connection, so he let me shrink wrap them. And then Tim and I went out, same thing, did, sold Day of the Reaper. His movie, I was just helping him do it. Got it in all the video stores. And then came Twisted Illusions. So that was first. That came first. So now even that Day of the Reaper, instead of the people just saying, yeah, here's $20, have a good day, they got to get into the guy was like, well, let's put it in our machine. Or this is at another Video Connection type place. And we're watching it, and right away he's like, I don't hear the sound. And I go, he goes, no, he goes, you don't understand. He goes, I want to hear the door open. I want to hear the creak of the door. I want to hear the guy breathing, because Tim did it all with, ADR on Super 8 film. And I go, oh, yeah, well, our next one's going to be better because we're going to do it on video. And the guy goes, not video. I don't mean video. And I'm like, I'm thinking, what do you guys want? We got like $20 between us. And, but we bring it back when you come back. And, but we went back Twisted Illusions. I go, well, it's a step up. At least I can hear everything. But everybody was they didn't like video. Nobody liked, video. This is like a soap opera. I don't like this. But mostly we talked to everybody before we'd be like, come on, man, it's only $20. Just buy it. At one point, one guy didn't want to even buy it. And Tim was like, well, can I trade some posters for it? And he's like, oh, yeah, go through all those posters. So Tim went through all these posters, and then he just took the posters and gave the guy the tape. But the main thing was the movie was getting up on all these shelves. And some people, they would buy them. They'd be like, oh, I'll take this. I'll put it up, see how it does. And then there are the other ones that were like, nah, we don't want this, or we don't like it. Oh, this is your cover, a white cover with a green monster coming out of a red VCR. And I'm like, man, what do these guys want? Independence Day? And but yeah, that's how it started. So it was rough then. It's still rough now, really, honestly.
Okay. So that project was done in 1985, correct?
Yes.
And then
yeah.
After that, you went into a project called Lost Faith. Is that correct?
Well, I did Twisted Illusions. Then I did with Tim. I helped him with Day of the Reaper. Then we did Twisted Illusions. Then we did Truth or Dare. Then we did Killing Spree. Then I did Lost Faith. Okay. So, in fact, actually, no, I should say it. I was doing Lost Faith the same time I was acting in Killing Spree, because I remember one of the guys, Scott Thede, our sound guy, and he said when we were all sitting at the floor at Al's house shooting Killing Spree, we were taking a break, and Scott Thede he says, man, you're busy. I go, what do you mean? He goes, I saw you on television last night. You're doing this movie, Killing Spree, for Tim, and you're talking about doing another movie called Lost Faith last night on TV. And I go, oh, yeah, I'm starting that. And so I was actually shooting Lost Faith, but still going back to do the scenes for Killing Spree. Okay. So tell us a little bit about Lost Faith and how you came up with the idea for it. Let's see. I think because I was can't remember, that'd have been 19. It was like a stretch between 88 to 92, because right in the middle of it, I went through a divorce, and I
Sorry about that.
I went to flip my car. I had my car up to 95. They're not even made to go that fast. And I was going to flip it, but I could really feel God just say, slow down. Everything's going to be fine. And I just took my foot off the gas and the car went down to like 40. But yeah, so I'd already started Lost Faith. I think I just came off of Truth or Dare and I wanted to do a karate movie. And I must have been a martial arts then. I must have been taking Taekwondo and kickboxing from my instructor, Richard Wingate. So at one point, because I had to know the martial arts to get involved. So I must have been doing my martial arts before that. So I got into doing the movie. And like I said, it started in 88. I finished it in 92 because of the divorce was most of it. Steve and I even went back and reshot scenes for the movie 4 years later and cut them in. And I wrote it, but I never had a title for it. And my nephew, Mark Heidelberg, came over one day and he said, hey, I thought of a name for your movie. And I go, what's that? He goes, and he hands it to me. And it was a drawing of a gun, a guy, and a cross. And he goes, you should call it Lost Faith. And I go, oh, that's a cool idea. I'm going to use that. And he goes, yeah. I said, that's cool. And I remember I would take that notebook with me everywhere I went. And, if we were at Denny's or Wags, my mom's, the car wash, wherever, I would have that and I would get an idea and I whip the notebook out and I'd start, writing the next scene for Lost Faith. Yeah. Well, I would write it. I'd script it. I had, the master. And then I'd put down, you will all be my victims or whatever. And I'd write the whole thing down in the notebook. And then, of course, I got a typewriter for Christmas. Well, my dad had one, but I had a typewriter. So then I could, actually type up the movie. And then I just went out, casted for that at a hotel. We had 3 nights. I think it was Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And had about 60 to 70 people show up each night. And then just casted the whole movie. I got a guy that I had nothing when I was starting it. Tim Ritter taught me how to do the production board. Now, the production board, the little slats in it, like we used in Truth or Dare, I was like, get that away from me. That'll just make me throw up. I can't do that. And Tim said, he goes, well, come over Saturday night and I'll teach you how to do a production board with index cards, which I still do today. But that's easier for me. When you put down one index card says day 1, the next one says day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5. And then you take your index cards and put what you're going to do on those days. And then, I use it all the time because you'll look at it and you go, oh, this guy can't make it on day 1, but he can make it on day 2. So we'll move his card to day 2, put it down. And then, oh, now I don't have time to do this guy on day 2. We'll move him to day 1. So you get 7 or 8 cards under each day, depending on how many days you got. And that's how you balance everything. Opposed to just saying, hey, come on over and not having anything written down and knowing who's going to show up. So Tim taught me that. And then he came with me the next day to the shoot. And he was helping me direct one of the scenes on the beach. And then he took a role in it. He's at the beginning of the movie. He's one of the security guards. Well, there's 3 versions of Lost Faith. And I think he's in this one, the Cult Movie Mania one, where he goes up the stairs and he's like supposed to be a security guard. And he's explaining to the cop, he's saying, he's kind of like Mr. A. He's kind of like Mr. T on that A show. And he had lots of chains on, but not as good as mine. And the cop's going, oh, we don't care about you. We don't care about yours. And then Tim goes, I'm going to go talk to Beard Man over here. I think that's in that cut. I can't remember. But yeah, so he was in that too. So so that. And then the other thing was my dad was a minister. And my brother-in-law, Carl, he told me, he goes, I got to talk to you someday about going into the ministry and following your dad's footsteps. My dad died before he even got to be he retired for 2 days and then he died. And I said, that really sucks. You retire for working for God, and then you die. You don't even get to enjoy your house. That sucks. But I didn't want to do that. But I said, if I can do it in movies, I will. And so that's what I had. Lost Faith, I think, had this fun action martial arts tone, but it also had a message. But it wasn't crammed down anybody's throat. A lot of people didn't even notice it, that watch it. And but there was a message there. And if they received the message, I thought that was great. If they didn't, they got to see a fun action, martial arts comedy. Because I like Monty Python and I like Jerry Lewis and all those guys. So I wanted to put that slapstick humor in there, not make it serious. I wanted to make it fun.
Okay.
And I think it's so at the time it was kind of like, oh, karate, whatever. Now it's got this kind of new following, which is cool because a lot of people really like the movie, really like Lost Faith, which I'm happy about.
Okay. So ultimately, what was the reception of Lost Faith that you think from then to now?
I think it was still good, but it didn't get the release that Cult Movie Mania got me, because when I signed with them for the movie, then it went all over. Then it was all overseas, all over the country. I did pretty good marketing it because I've never done anything like I did Lost Faith before, because I buried myself in that movie. I would call people on the phone and go, hey, I got a movie coming out. I'm going to be coming to your store. I want you to buy 3 copies. And they were like, I don't even know who you are, man. And then I'm going, tell them about it. I just shot this movie here in Fort Pierce and Port St. Lucie. Some parts are shot in Vero, some are shot in West Palm. You got to get it in your video store. I'm like, oh, well, yeah, come by. But then I went on television. I did this all before. I had it so systematically planned out. I had all my movies, all the tapes. They were all in boxes.
Mm-hmm.
They're all shrink wrapped. They're all ready to go. I set up the day, which I think was a Saturday, that I would be in the video stores. Then I called all the newspapers and I did interviews in the Post-Times, the News Tribune, Fort Pierce, the Port St. Lucie News, the Vero Beach Times. I think I even went up as far as Cape Canaveral, down at Post-Times, down at West Palm Beach, into Jupiter. I hit every major newspaper I could, and I got stories in all of them. Then I went to television, Fox 13, WPEC Channel 12, Channel 5. I hit everybody with, hey, I got this new movie, got on television about it. And a lot of that stuff actually got picked up because my brother saw it in Minnesota. Because, TV stations, they'll share their footage.
Yeah.
And he saw it there. So when I walked into the first video store, because it was all promoted so well, they recognized me from television and the newspapers, and they were like, have you got like 3 or 4 of those, right? And I'm like, oh, you want 3 or 4? And they go, yeah, we'll take 4. And I go, okay. And I get 4, and I think I was doing them at 20 a piece. And then, yeah, it was so well publicized. They were telling me as I walked through the door, they go, we'll buy them. We'll buy 6. We'll buy 8. We got so many people coming in here asking for that movie. They all want to see this movie because I promoted it so well by saying, you should get this movie. It's right in your hometown. Mm-hmm. I might have been shooting right down your street. We shot it over in Bayshore Park, which is a very popular place everybody would go. Because Fort Pierce and Port St. Lucie aren't like Tampa. They're little tiny residential type places. Mm-hmm. And so I did really good. So good, in fact, I remember I had to borrow $3,000 from my mom to do the whole movie, the box. Because I remember Tim telling me, he goes, I got you a real good price. The guy that did Killing Spree, are you ready for this? And I go, yeah. And he goes, are you really? You better sit down. I got you such a good price. And I go, yeah, just tell me. And he goes, $300. And I go, oh, man, that's great, Tim. Wow. Thanks. And then we got to the guy, and I'm going, oh, great, thank you, $300. This is a good deal. And he goes, 300. He goes, 3,000. And I looked at Tim, and Tim looked at me, and he goes, what? And the guy goes, it's $3,000. And Tim goes, oh, man, I'm really sorry. I thought it was $300 you're getting. And I was like, you know what, man? It doesn't matter. This was such a big deal to me. So I borrowed $3,000 from my mom, and I had her paid back within the month, just going out and doing and I was doing them in the mail. I was going into the stores. I drove from my house in Fort Pierce all the way up to Cape Canaveral. You need to hit Satellite Beach on the way up, Cocoa. I'd go over to Cocoa Beach. I'd go over to Cocoa. I went down all the way down to Miami, West Palm. I hit everywhere, everything. And when Tim and I did it, it'd be Tim, his wife Kathy, and myself. And Tim would be like driving, And he goes, okay, Kathy, you check the left side of the road. Joel, you check the right. And that's how we did it. We'd be like, video store. And Tim would be like, and when I went on vacation, I went to South Carolina. This is moving it up a notch, but I was taking Wicked Games into little stores I would see up in when we were going to South Carolina. I was stopping in states. Oh, there's a video store. Spin the car around, go in, sell the movie. So it's really a process. You don't do that now. You got your distributor, you got your streaming, but back in the day, there were a heck of a lot
more mom and pop shops.
A lot more door to door sales.
Oh yeah. Oh, and then we even had one guy. I said, I go, yeah, I want to pick this movie. I'm not picking that movie up for me. You guys are probably trying to sell bootleg things. And I go, hey man, it's not bootleg. That's me on the cover. That's not you. That's not you. This is Lost Faith.
Well, I imagine with Lost Faith as the things, some people actually thought you were a Jehovah's Witness or something like that.
Maybe there's all kinds of religions, but it focused on the martial arts. The faith part was, like the surprise there. So they got a cover of me on the cover throwing a karate kick, and still question. No, they never questioned anything like that about faith. What they questioned was, I would take out my license and go, dude, that's me. That license is fake. You're trying to fake me out. Get out. Get it. And they were screaming at us. They're like, get out of my store. Get out of my store. And I'm like, it's my movie. Get out. And I'm like, okay. One guy in Miami, we took Creep in there. It was Tim, Kathy, and I. We all went in. And we're trying to sell him a copy of Creep. And I go, yeah, see, we got Kathy Willits in it. He goes, she's probably only in it for 3 seconds. Get out of here. You guys are trying to rip me off. And we're like, but we're not trying to rip you off. Blockbuster told Tim, they go, the man's rage on the cover is too much for our customers. We can't buy it. And then others you'd get a hold of, and they'd say, we got to come back on the managers here. And we're thinking, nobody has the authority to spend $20. Whoop-de-doo. And so we'd make appointments to see the guy, and then you'd go out of your way and you'd go there and they'd be like, oh yes, his foot got hurt, so he's not here today. So there was some stores we just couldn't get in, and we just finally gave up on. But we still did, we still did really good because we just went everywhere with all the movies until Ron really picked it up.
So did you use any actors or actresses that you had used in your Twisted Illusions short films in Lost Faith?
It was I know there's the one girl that's on the cover of Twisted Illusions, and then I don't think I used anybody from Twisted Illusions. Oh, we did use Tim's teacher was in Twisted Illusions. And Tim got him a job on Truth or Dare. So he came back. He was originally Twisted Illusions. And then I don't think I used anybody. I don't think there was anybody.
Okay, so all new actors and actresses.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, for my audition.
That's cool. Going into your next production that you were part of, which was another anthology called Before I Die. Well, which ultimately became that.
Well, just to clarify, Before I Die was about 60 movies later, but yeah.
Well, it's the next one up on the list that I see here on IMDb.
Okay. Before I Die. That's with Phil. I was thinking, I always get these things confused. Before I Die was, yes, an anthology. Phil Herman had there's somebody else there's a story by Marilyn Chigalani, I think you pronounce her name if I'm correct, and another person that did the real estate story, and then I did one called Time for Dessert. And that was a story. I think it came up from a long time ago. I told Jeff Miller at Peerless right after we did Truth or Dare. I told him I got a story about this girl that picks up guys and gets them to the hotel. And then as they're kind of getting it on, she morphs into a monster. But I was going to call it, I Want Your Penis. And the monster would go, I want your penis. And it would rip it off and eat it and then eat the guy. And I was just saying it to Jeff as a throwaway kind of goofy little story. And Jeff was like, oh, that's great. God rest his soul. He's gone. But then in 1999, I did write something, but I said I won't call it that. I'll call it Time for Dessert. And I had an actress, Kathy Holsebrook, and she was very interested in wanting to do movies. I gave her a part in Fall of an Actor, and when Fall of an Actor was kind of in limbo. So I wrote this story about a woman that was going around picking up guys, and that's what we'd do. We'd show a scene where she'd pull up in a car, and she goes, hey there, come with me. And the guy would be like, oh, yeah, I'm going to go with you and get it on. And they get back to the hotel, and you start seeing them like making out and getting it on. And then it cuts. Oh, yeah. And then there would be this guy, this goofball guy coming along. He wants to get it on with her. And he's always chasing her around. And he's like, oh, she's with another guy. And then, so you see this go on for about 3 or 4. You never see what happens. And the last part of the segment, she brings a guy in the bedroom, and he looks around. And he goes, why are all your mirrors covered up with towels? And she goes, well, I don't like to look at myself in the mirror. And the guy's all right. So the two of them are getting it on, and she's on top of the guy. And all of a sudden the guy's enjoying it. And then he glances and he goes, hey, your towel fell. And when he looks into the mirror, it's a monster on top of him with big spider legs and a big spider, face and big fangs. And he goes, whoa, God, what are you? And she's like, shut up. And she rips his shirt open and she jams her face into his chest. And then, of course, we didn't have a lot of effects, and I didn't want to wreck the bed with blood and stuff. So it was more like pushing the mask into his chest and then putting in sound effects like she's ripping him to pieces. And then, so that's when you truly see that's what she was. She was this alien disguised as a woman that would go out, pick up men, because the men are like, oh, you want to lay me? Yeah, I'll go with you, And then when she gets out of bed, she's walking around the hotel room. She opens a closet, and there's a dead guy in there. Then she opens a refrigerator, and there's a head in there. She goes to get in the shower, and there's an arm hanging in the shower. And she goes, I think she says, I'm going out to eat. And then you see her in the car, and she's driving around, and she sees this guy, and then she's looking at him. Oh, no, she parks the car. She gets out of the car, and she looks at the guy, and she licks her lips, and she goes, time for dessert. And that's the end of it. I thought it was pretty cool. I thought it was a pretty neat little short. And that was in Before I Die.
Okay. So ultimately, after that project, how much... now, have you actually heard back from other people about that particular short film from that particular anthology?
A lot of people did like it, especially unless he's kidding with me. He told me, he goes, Joel, that's my favorite short that I've ever seen is Before I Die. He goes, I love that. And I thought, oh, that's cool. And one of the actors and I don't really get along now because he says a lot of crap about me and it kind of damages me and stuff. But I will still always say he did a great job, Gustavo Perez. He did a great job as the guy that's chasing around Kathy's character. He's funny. I mean, the comedy came from inside him, but I would tell him what to do and made a great match, which is sad that we don't work together now because he is talented. And when I directed him in that, it was, he was running between telephone poles, trying to catch glances and ducking into the bushes and peeking. And I told him, peek out, make your eyes bug out and be like, whoa, she's kissing him. And, I remember there's a scene in the movie where he's waiting for the girl to come out of the elevator and he's flipping a comic book. And I show my buddy, Bill Casanelli, that. And the only thing Bill could say is, don't do that to that comic book. Don't damage that. Treat that comic book with respect. He was having a fit because the guy was flipping through the pages. But no, I don't have anything where people write me and go, hey, this is the greatest story. I know from that they've said that they'll say like, and it was so long ago too, Before I Die. 1999, I think. And but I do remember Andrew Allen tell me that. He goes, this is my favorite story. I love it. And but for the movie coming out, I think at the time, a lot of people like that because it was kind of a cool little story about, because up until that point, people just think it's a woman picking up guys, and then at the very end, you see and it's a very 1950s kind of thing, because it was this giant spider I had, and I had to mount the spider inside the shirt and connect it to her front. And then I had the spider legs coming out, and then I had the bat, and she couldn't see what she was doing in there. And, but for what it was worth, for a 1950s kind of, The Fly, kind of thing with David Hedison, it was kind of cool that you see the reflection in the mirror and you're like, oh shit, what's that? I didn't expect that. So, yeah, I mean, and low budget, no money, and,
Yeah.
So
after that production, you got into a second anthology for Twisted Illusions 2, correct?
Yeah, we did Twisted Illusions 2. I think that was either right before or right after, because I know that was also 1999, 2000, 2001 era. And same thing, Tim and I were talking on the phone, and we always said 20 years prior, at the end of Twisted Illusions, it said, coming soon, Twisted Illusions 2. And that was a joke, because a lot of people were returning the tape and they were going, yeah, I won't be waiting for that anytime soon. I really don't care. But Tim said, I think we could do this. Why don't, he said, Tim said he would do one. I would do one. And, oh man, not Joe Sherlock, but he's going to kill me. Another filmmaker that took the third story. Man, if you're out there, I apologize. I cannot remember. But he did a story.
John Bowker.
Bowker, yes, John. I'm so sorry, man. John did a short.
You were close because he worked with Joe Sherlock a lot.
Sure,
so.
Yeah. It's really those two top guys I always remembered that were always doing stuff, Sherlock and Bowker. And Bowker had a script for one of his movies. He had a role for me in it, and but it just didn't come to fruition. But with that, Tim said, I said, well, I'm going to do because I remember we were thinking of putting Time for Dessert on that. We did those back to back. I remember that now. We did Practicing for the Part. Okay. And I think we did that, might have been before. I know we did it in the same weekend, within 3-4 days. And that was Practicing for the Part. And that was a lot of fun to do, because that was a story I wrote about an actor being released from a mental institution by his two doctors. And the first thing he does, and he's supposed to stay away from crazy stuff, because he just got released. The two doctors release him. First thing he does is he goes, oh, you could be an actor. He wants to be an actor like Clint Eastwood. So he goes in to the hotel where they're auditioning. And I pretty much, when I stayed up here, I took the hotel over. It was like, oh, here comes the guy. And I was always slipping all my movie equipment by, thinking I was being slick, using the whole hotel. And one day the manager came up to me. She goes, how's your movie going? And I go, movie? What are you talking about? She goes, we're smarter than that. We've seen all your equipment. We see you in the hallways and the elevators. We've got you on monitors. So they knew I was making this movie the whole time. But they were getting their room rate. So what do they care? And then I rented out the bottom room where we showed the movie. But anyway, he goes in, he auditions for the movie, and the directors are Mark Nash and Kevin Bangos, and they're telling my character, you got to be scary, crazy, go out and practice being this psychopath. Well, that's what he's a psychopath that's in the institute. He got put in the institution because he's a psycho, and they made him normal. They released him. He goes, auditions for a horror movie, and they tell him to go out and practice being a psycho. So he goes out and he's scaring hookers on the street and people in their backyard and chasing people around. And every time he scares somebody, he pulls his mask off and he goes, just practicing for the part. And that goes on and on and on until the last person, he's got the girl on the bed and he's strangling her. And he goes, I'm just practicing for the part. And he whips a knife out and stabs it through her and just stabs her and stabs her. And then he's sitting in his living room and you hear he's watching TV, and the guy on TV is Tim Ritter, and he goes, in today's news, Sunnyvale Psycho or whatever it was released from the Sunnyvale Mental Institution, because we always go back to Sunnyvale in a lot of the movies. And then my character goes back to meet the three directors, and it's Kevin Bangos, Mark Nash, and I forget his name too. But he's there, and my character comes in, and he's like, one of them's like, what is this guy? And they go, wait, he's really good. And I start walking around the room going, I'm gonna kill all of you. And the director's whipping through the script, and he goes, I don't see that anywhere, man. And all of a sudden I jump over the table, I pull the knife out, and I stab all three of them. And I look right at the camera and go, well, do I get the part or what? So to me, that was my kind of thing. I thought that was cool. It was a fun little thing. And the whole twist was, it goes back to after I say, do I get the part or what? It cuts out, and it's like a freeze frame, and it goes back to the hospital. Or it might be in the beginning after I leave. I think it's at the end. Another doctor comes into the two doctors, which is played by Gustavo Perez again, and my wife now, Kathy Wynkoop. Mm-hmm. Another doctor comes in, he goes, what are you two doing in here? And they go, well, he made me come in here and do it. And so what it was they were patients, and they released a psychopath into the world. I don't know. I thought it was kind of a cool story. So, so that was in Twisted Illusion. And I know that got a lot because I remember it being when it went to Netflix, and I was still working Crystal Water then. And I remember walking into one of my stops. I got 2 bottles of 50-gallon, bottles of water on my shoulder. And I'm walking in, I get the door, and I whip the door open. I come in 2 bottles of water, and I'm going by one of the guys' office. It was like a realtor, and he yells at me, just practicing for the part. And I go, oh, you seen that? He goes, yeah, man, I got it on Netflix. And so,
oh wow,
yeah, that was my first taste of like Netflix was picking up stuff. Like they picked up Dirty Cop, and they picked up Twisted Illusion, and a bunch of our stuff when they just used to. There was no streaming; it was mailing out, discs. And, but yeah, that was, to me, that's still one of my favorites. If I look back at it, I think it's a cool little short. The one big thing I got told from different people are, oh, it's a little long. And I can look at it and relate, look at my stuff and, be just as critical and go, yeah, it probably ran a little long, but it gets a point across, and I think it's entertaining. And all of them were like 30 minutes. I think John's was 30. And John had a cool story about the dead coming back. And, of course, Tim's was awesome because it was about a guy tracking down this lady that didn't return a videotape. So we kind of all had that same kind of humor going. So, yeah, it was a lot of fun making it. And Tim, I wasn't editing that. Tim, I sent him all the footage, and he put it all together. And then, of course, got it released through Sub Rosa Studios.
Right, and then your follow up to that was a feature of just you as director with Gustavo Perez and your wife called The Bite.
Yeah, that was in. Tell me if I'm right. 2006.
2005.
5. I remember Tim told me I was doing a lot of shorts, and I hadn't done a lot of features since Tim and I got split up by him moving, and then I eventually moved out to Tampa. Tim told me, he goes, man, you're doing a lot of these shorts, but people are going to forget about you. You need to make a feature movie. And I was like, oh, maybe he's right. Well, Phil Herman sent me a little, I think it was either a 1 or a 3-page synopsis, and he goes, I want you to do this for my movie Always Midnight. And it just said something. I think it was a 1-page, actually, because I think it said, like, a man walks down the street littered with garbage, houses and buildings all vacant. And then it was like the next one. Then he's with his girlfriend on a picnic, and he hears there's vampires. And then they run home and are attacked by a vampire and killed. And as I was looking at it, I go, I could shoot this. But there's so much more to this short. It could be a movie. And so I added to it. All of a sudden, the guy had a name, Nick Hazard. Then I'm like, yeah, I'm going to do that. It's it's post-apocalyptic. And then I was writing it, and pretty soon I had a 90-page script. I think it was 60 pages, and I added an additional towards the end. Okay. But yeah, put that all together, and the same thing. I took out my index cards. It took us 8 days to shoot it, and put all. The only thing that stopped us, a hurricane came right in the middle of it and shut me down for one. Yeah, because the lake where we lived all rose up over the dock. It was like coming up into the parking lots. I was like, wow. But yeah, that was The Bite, and I called up Gus at the time. I go, you want to play a part in this? He was like, yeah. And then Karen Graves, I got her in it, and Kathy was in it as playing my character's wife. And I just got a bunch of people in it. I was a vampire hunter. In fact, what's interesting in my movie, the Craigslist Incident Part 3, you're going to see Nick Hazard comes back. So you see Nick Hazard, Dan Hess, pretty much 7 of my characters that I played in different movies will be in the Craigslist Incident 3. So I hope people enjoy that. I hope they're like, oh, that's Dan Hess from Truth or Dare, or that's Cope Ransom from the Alien Agenda. And but yeah, then we did The Bite, and I think Chris Conklin was editing it. I went over to his house when he was editing it, and I remember at one point I said, because him and his girlfriend were kind of getting it on the not getting it on, but just kissing and happy and shit. And I go, can I play with this a little? And he's like, yeah. So I was kind of picking up editing a little from him, but eventually I taught myself how to edit. But yeah, then we got The Bite edited. Chris made a website, and then I think the same thing. Trying to remember. I think we went around to stores and sold that too, because Chris put it on DVD, and that was 2005 when we shot it. Probably 6 when it came out. Yeah, it was only on DVD then. I think we had a website. And I think there were still some stores around that, weren't completely gone that were buying it. And then a lot of people were, and I can't remember if Facebook was around then, but then I just also was starting to sell it myself. Chris was selling it and I was selling it. So,
well, I know I bought my copy from you specifically. So,
oh, cool.
But
did you get it through the mail? I got it to you through the mail, I guess. So how did we do that? Did you just see it on?
I ended up buying it through your eBay store.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. See, I don't even remember that. I must have had it up there at one point. Sometimes I put one up. I don't use their option like 20 in stock. I just put one up, and then once somebody buys it, it's gone, and then I got to remember. Oh, you got to put it back up again. Or I think Craigslist Incident, I put 10 in stock or something on for my overseas stuff.
Definitely. But did you use any actors from your previous productions in The Bite at any given point in time?
I do see you worked with Gustavo Perez once again.
Gus was really, honestly, Gustavo Perez was my main guy. From way back when I came over here, him and I became very close, very good, best friends. And I got Gustavo in Twisted Illusions 2. We had already done Twisted Illusions, Lost Faith, Killing Spree. Those were all done. Truth or Dare was done. Wicked Games was done before I came over. Creep was done. It was when I moved over here. So just before 2002, I think it was almost to 2006 before we did something, except for the Twisted Illusions. Yeah, that's where I met Gus, and I put him in.
And was it filmed? Was it filmed in West? Was it filmed in West Point, Florida, at this point in time?
No, in Before I Die and Time for Dessert were shot in Brandon, Florida.
Okay.
And yeah, I used Gus in a lot of my movies. He was in The Bite, Twisted Illusions 2. And I think we did. You'd have to. I can't even remember all the shit I've done. So you got to remind me. But I used him in a lot of my stuff. And then just one day we were out with a friend, a mutual friend that knows him, knows me. And when I went back into the store to use the restroom, I came back out. And then he had told my wife some stuff that he'd been talking behind my back. And I go, why? I like the guy. We're friends. And that's just what broke up our very good relationship, because people kept writing me on Facebook and calling me on the phone, and they'd say, dude, this guy's really saying some shit about you. One director, I was working on a movie And he told the other director, because the director said Joel Wynkoop's on his way, and the other director goes, "What do you got him working for you? He's an asshole." And the other director goes, "Are you kidding me? He's the nicest guy in the world. Who said that?" And he goes, "Well, Gustavo Perez said he's a big asshole." He goes, "Gustavo Perez hates him and says and just all kinds of shit that he has said about me." So I tried to do the olive branch like Captain Kirk with the Klingons. I would go to him and I go, "Dude, why are you saying these things? We're buddies." And he would say, I'm sorry. I apologize. I'll never say it again. And then it would be 2 weeks later, someone called me and go, "Dude, this is what," and they'd send me their Facebook posts where he's running me down. I have a file of them all in case it ever came to slander and I want to take him to court, which I probably won't, but I've got all this stuff from him. So I'd file it away. And even then, to the last possible minute of extending your arm, and some people just don't want it. I said, I even saw him as recent as less than a year ago at a convention. And I go, "Hey, man, I don't know what the problem is. We've gone back and forth with this, but I would have used you in every single thing I've ever had." And his response, instead of just saying, "Oh, thanks, it didn't work," it was just like, "Well, you don't want to be in too many B movies, and I don't want to do B movies anymore." And I'm like, "That's fine, but I don't know what I ever did to you because I was always nice to you." And that's where I told Anthony Wayne, who is an actor, he came along. I met him when I was doing a movie called Dark Dimensions, but then I was working with him. But once I lost Gus and I knew we weren't friends anymore, I grabbed Anthony from my television show, The Other Side, and that was my TV show. It got on the air. It was on the air for over a year and a half, in repeats along with my TV show, The Joel Wynkoop Show. But then Anthony became my regular actor. And I'd always try and reach out to Gus, but it was just, he always would shut me down. Like, he didn't want nothing to do with me, and then I would hear from other people, I embezzled $2 million from him, and I have a bank account in Switzerland with billions of dollars in it. And I'm like, I don't know why you're saying this stuff, man. I don't know why. So it was sad because I like the guy and I'd love to work with him again, but you don't want to work with somebody that's always going to run you down.
No.
You do something with somebody, then they go behind their back and go, "Yeah, he sucks. He's an asshole."
You want to do something.
Asshole, why are you working with him?
You want to do something with someone who wants to do the same thing that you do and has the same goal in mind, So
the funny thing is, he did. I was in his movie, Light of Blood and Angora, when we were friends then. And
so that was his movie, Light of Blood.
Light of Blood, the werewolf movie, is his. He wrote that. It was released through Cult Movie Mania, picked it up. And Angora, we shot the whole thing, but I have a copy of it. And I even went to him and I said, "Look, Gus, if we could just get beyond you hating me, why don't we release this movie? I got it. I can package it, and I'll do you just like a distributor. You get a percentage. You'll get, because you get the credit for writing it and everything, but I've got to spend money packaging it. So it's not like I'm going to do it and not get anything out of it." But he turned me down. He goes, "No, I don't want it." And then another distributor, and then he just said, "No, people will steal it." And I'm like, you got to get your work out there, And so I don't know. So it's it is what it is, I guess,
I do see though that that the movie did win 2 Crystal Reel Awards.
Yeah, one Crystal Reel Award. That's right. Yeah, I got it somewhere. Sad thing about that is the damn thing fell off my wall one day. It shattered, but it's still up on the wall. But yeah, that was 2006 Crystal Reel Award. I think it equaled like a 3rd place. But yeah, it was pretty neat to be there with all these other actors and filmmakers, and it's something pretty cool, to be there and win that award. So it was pretty cool.
Okay. And ultimately, after The Bite, you went on to be part of the Midnight Trilogy.
Yeah, I started to say that about Phil sent me that thing to do Always Midnight. And I called him up and I go, "Phil, it's Joel." And he's like, "Hey, man," because Phil and I became awesome, close friends back in 95 or 96 when Creep came out in Fangoria magazine. That just opened up a whole new world for Tim and I. And one of the and also independent video. because I read about Phil in there, and then Phil read about me in there, and Fangoria, and then we became fast friends like in '96. So Phil and I are, and that's how we did Horror Tales .666 Part 2 together. And Phil and I did a bunch of Jacker 2, Jacker, and then Phil's been in my movies, and I'm in Phil's movies. And so yeah, when that came up, I told Phil, I kind of made your, and I gave him full credit in the movie. I kind of made your short into a feature, and he goes, "Oh, that's cool, but what about for always?" Or it was supposed to be for Around Midnight, so I missed that. And I go, "I promise you, I'll write a short for Always Midnight," and that was Kill Her Arnold, and that was in Always Midnight. But I turned his little synopsis into a full-page script and released that as The Bite.
Okay. And how was the reception of Always Midnight as a trilogy? Did it get any reception at all, or
that? I think, and that's more of a Phil question, because everything was going through Phil Herman, the sales and stuff. But I think it went really well. I seen a lot of people that were purchasing it, talking about it, because it was, like you said, the Midnight trilogy. And and then I saw, of course, Phil's post, and I think Wave had it for a while, but I'm not positive. And but I always saw that the reception was really good with those.
After Midnight, then you got into a couple of short films called Survivor of Remick and Not of This World, correct?
Yes, Survivors of Remick and Not of This World. Well, you guys are killing me. What's his name? Oh man, what is his name?
It's actor. The actor's name, correct?
No, the producer of it is don't be watching this.
Producer is I'm seeing.
He writes the whole series. He wrote the whole series. It was a comic book before John Martin. Okay. I think. Anyway, he contacted me because he used to be in the horror world, but then he moved over into Christian-based films. And he wrote me, and he goes, "I want you to do a story. I've got a story here I think you'd like. It's called Survivors of Remick. It's about outer space." And I go, sold, Captain Kirk. There we go. That's me. I'm sorry. It's going to be called the Enterprise. He goes, "No, it's not." And he sent me the script, and the first thing I added was, and Anthony Wayne, my buddy that became really good friends with, that I'd always put in my movies. I told my wife, Kathy, I said, "Who do you think should play this part?" And I said the character's name, and she goes, "Anthony, all the way. That's Anthony. He was my Scotty." And so I got him. And my idea was to do what Gene Roddenberry was. He said he had a melting pot. He had white people, black people. He had a Russian guy. He had
an Asian.
It's a Sulu, Nichelle Nichols. Everybody, and that's what he said. He goes, "I had a melting pot on the bridge of the Enterprise," because that's the way he saw the future. No racism, anything like everybody getting along. So I said, you know what? I'm going to take a thing from Roddenberry, because I'm a fan of Star Trek. I said, I want to do that. So one of my actresses, she told me, she goes, "I can do a British accent." I go, boom, do that for me. So she did. And then I had Jackie, it's not Amos. Oh, God, I'm terrible with names. Jackie, he was in it. And he was a black guy. So I had Jackie. Then I had Ed, who's a black guy. Then I had Kathy, a white girl. And who else was in it? You could probably tell me better if you got it there, but everybody that was in it, that's what I was going for. Oh, and Bridget was in it. And we had our cast reading. The guy let me use the it's a place here in Tampa. It's haunted. And we shot the whole movie there. And we saw all kinds of stuff too. One day we went in there with all the equipment. It had just all been charged to its highest peak. What's that place called? Oh, the Cuban Club. The Cuban Club. And it was haunted. And we took all our well, first of all, we had all our auditions. not our auditions. I already picked my people, but our read-through, our cast read-through. So we read through it and read through it and read through it until everybody got comfortable with it. And there's your faith-based thing too, is this girl came and Bridget, and she had something wrong with her back. She had hurt it really bad. I was going to have surgery. And I said, we're going to pray about that. And then the next time, and we did. And the next time she came back, she goes, oh God, Joel and Kathy. And I had a car accident. And I'm going, oh my God, Bridget, what's happened? You know, and then it was back. Yeah, I've got to go in for surgery. They're going to cut me open and they got to like put staples in your spinal cord. And I go, we're going to pray about that again. And we did. The next time I saw her, she showed up. She went back to the doctor. The doctor said, you don't need surgery. We're going to do this. Physical therapy. He goes, we don't need to go back in there. This has somehow corrected itself. And I've seen that happen so many times with back operations that people I prayed for. But anyway, that was one of the things. But we showed up there this one particular morning in the bottom of the Cuban Club. And I was going to shoot there because I had the whole run of the building that day. All our stuff was on the bar. This is cameras, you know, the battery packs, our mic things, because I brought other people in with all this other stuff that could help me with. All downstairs. Then we went up to the 3rd floor. I think we shot there in the 2nd floor. And as I'm coming down, my wife had got ahead of me. She's coming up. She goes, you don't want to see what's down there. And I got down there and they rented out the room. And there's people having a party and all our equipment's there. And I'm like, oh my, you know, everybody was cool. They never touched it. But when we had first got in there, all our stuff was on the counter. And when we went to use it, the battery, all the juice was gone from everything. So we had to plug in and I had to shoot everything off electric because my batteries had all been drained. And people were seeing there was a white lady spirit up in the window. And then the worst part was we were cleaning up that night. And we were all up on the 3rd floor, and every floor is haunted. The bottom one was an actor hung himself back there, I think, and another guy on the 2nd floor with like the mob or something connected got in there, and they shot him to death in there and buried him back there so no one would find out. And I even went back there when the guy was giving us a tour, and I got in there and I go, that's as far as I'm going, because you could feel something in your face almost telling you, you don't want to come back here. And I was like, that's good enough for me. And where my wife and Ed had to go was backstage. And she said it was the creepiest thing. She goes, we were like waiting for you to call action because both of us were we couldn't stand this back there. We wanted to get out. But on the 3rd floor, Ken Anthony, another friend of mine, I met him at a convention in, I think, 2000. And I put him in Survivor's Ceramic. It's the first thing the guy ever did. He said, you know, he's doing he's doing comic book and art. And he goes, oh, I'd love to be in a movie. And I go, I'll put you in a movie. And he goes, oh, Joel, thanks. So I put him in the movie as one of the survivors. Well, he stayed with us all day, even though he could have went home. Him, Kathy, and another guy were up on the 3rd floor loading up all the, you know, I had boxes of clothes and lighting gear and all this stuff. And I was downstairs doing something. They're putting it in the elevator. And as they're standing there by the elevator, something went like that. And Kathy and Ken, I guess Kathy said Ken's eyes went bug out and Kathy's eyes and the other guy. And they all looked back in the corner. And Ken was like, let's get the hell out of here. And Kathy's like, yeah, I'm glad you got. And they loaded up the elevator. It was almost like we had been there all day taking up that time. And something was in there letting us know, get out. Also, there was a orb. And you'll see it if you watch the movie when Anthony is standing there, you'll see a blue orb appear on his face and then it slowly floats away from him. And we always thought that was something there because there was no lights getting in from outside because we were on the 3rd floor. We weren't on the 1st floor where the traffic was. So I sent that into Paranormal Caught on Camera, but I guess it wasn't good enough for him. But that was Survivor's Ceramic for John Martin. And then he sent me another script. Can you do this one? And I got Krista Grotti Saxon to be in that with me too. And my wife teases me. She goes, you just got Krista in there because you wanted to kiss her. And I go, yeah. So that was another little a story about a guy and a woman meeting up. And just as we're about to get in bed and have sex, we bump into the Bible and it breaks the restraints. And she's like, what are we doing here? And I go, oh God, I don't even know. I'm lost my mind. I'm cheating on my wife. And she's like, I got to go. I'll see you Monday at work. And she leaves and I leave. And it was a nice story for this, not of this earth. and which were to his comic book and everything. So that was both of those that came out. One, the Survivors of Remick was in the first Not of This World, and I think it's Room 215 was in the other one.
Okay. After those two short films, you got into The Fall of an Actor.
Oh yeah.
What exactly is that project about?
Fall of an Actor was also started in 1998 or 99. I was coming over here a lot to Tampa to see my buddy Garland Hewlett. In fact, this first time I came over, and don't be afraid to say Fall of an Actor again if I get off track, but I came over to Tampa the first time to work for Marcus Cook on his movie Rot. And which is a funny story because the first 3-4 days I was helping him move furniture out of rooms and buy furniture at thrift stores and shirts. And it was funny. But because we finally started the movie. And then I think it was the first time around, Marcus was on the phone with his friend Garland. I didn't know Garland. And Garland was saying he's working on his movie, Brain Robbers from Outer Space. And Marcus told him, he goes, well, I'm working on Rot. I got Joel Wynkoop over here from Fort Pierce. And Garland said, you got Joel Wynkoop, King of the B movies? And Marcus goes, and that's not me saying it. That's what alternative cinema had. And in fact, I don't think it was then. I think Garland just knew me from the Fangoria magazine, because I don't think that whole alternative cinema King of the B movies thing come out yet. So he said, you got the guy from at least Creep. And Marcus told me, yeah, he goes, you think you can get him to come over here and do Brain Robbers? So Marcus just covers up the phone and goes, Joel, you want to be in another, you go over and do this movie for this? I go, sure. So we're doing Rot. One night we went over and Marcus is setting up the graveyard. And then I'm doing a scene for Garland Hewlett in Brain Robbers from Outer Space. So that takes us all the way full circle into Fall of an Actor, because Garland's going, we should do something else. Oh, and this is kind of interesting too. The first thing we did was the people from Table 12. I also got another call from another guy in Tampa, St. Pete, and he wanted me to come over from Fort Pierce to appear. He was having this big luncheon. God dang it, I can't remember his name either. Oh, jeez. Sal Ranella. I'm doing pretty good for an old guy. Sal Ranella. And I went up on stage. He goes, you can make a little thing out of it. It'll be fun. Like when you come up, put on a little show. And I'm thinking, don't tell me to put on a little show, because I'm going to put on a big show. So I went up on stage when he was talking, and I go, and I pulled my wallet out, and I think I had my security badge in there from an old job. And I go, Special Agent Maxwell from the St. Pete FBI special. And everybody's like, whoa. And I go, this man is under arrest for tax evasion. And I grabbed Sal's hand and his other hand. I put them together and I pulled the handcuffs out. And I was handcuffing him. And people are going, hey, I'm calling my lawyer. And they're opening their phones. They're going, stop, what's going on? And like people were panicking. And Sal's whispering to me, he goes, okay, stop. Tell him it's a joke. You're going too far. And so I stopped, took the handcuffs off. And I go, everybody, this is just a joke. I'm an actor from the East Coast. Been invited over here to put on a little show for you all. And they're all like, well, you fooled us. And that's where I met Dave Vogel. And I told David Vogel the next day with Garland, we were planning to shoot something. And we all met at this restaurant. And the restaurant let us shoot in there. After we ate, we just started making the movie. And then we said, we'll call it The People from Table 12. And that's where I met Dave Vogel, put him in my movie. And then I put Raymond Couto, who was in Brain Robbers. I put him in People from Table 12. And then, so put that together and just kind of put it away. And then the next time back to Garland's, he was like, we should do kind of like a movie where you're the actor, kind of like The People from Table 12, but we'll expand on it, where you're the actor. Walter is your lawyer, Walter Maceda, and Gus is your publicist or something. And so they just started shooting this movie kind of without me. And they had all these scenes talking about me. And they go, we got to get you over here. And then all of a sudden we made this, but we made it. Well, we shot all these scenes for it, put it that way. And it took almost 10 years for me to get the footage from Garland, asking him over. And Garland, can I please have that footage? And I finally got it. And meanwhile, his son had footage. So his son, well, before he had it, I took Fall of an Actor and I cut it all together like a reality show.
Okay.
And I introduced it as it was a show on MTV, The Real World. It was the first one that was ever done. And I put at the beginning, this was supposed to be like the real world. This is a true event. This really happened. Cameras were constantly on the people involved. This is a true story, and it's pretty cool. And that was the whole documentary part. Then Damon Hewlett, Garland's son, released the other version as a movie. So they're really two separate entities. There's The Fall of an Actor is the movie, and Fall of an Actor is the documentary. And that's where I went to Joe Davison one day, who's in Stranger Things, and he's done a bunch of stuff. I was in his movie 100 Tears. I was supposed to play Gertie, and they offered me like $3,000 to do it, but I couldn't get out of work, and I didn't want to quit my job, which is sad because right after they shot 100 Tears, I gave them my 2-week notice because I had a movie in Indiana and a movie in Iowa, and I had to make a decision. Do I want to keep chugging water, or do I want to take the acting serious? But yeah, Fall of an Actor. Then I went to, as I'm doing this, it took me 10 years, but I got all the footage, put it all together, and I was over at Joe's house, and Joe's scene in Fall of an Actor is so funny. I got tears coming out of my eyes when I'm just laughing at him, so hard. So to me, it's really close to my heart. I really enjoy Fall of an Actor. I really, making it, but I could put it in and watch it now, and it'll crack me up and, make you laugh. David the Rock Nelson called me from Chicago, and
Nice.
he said, and David the Rock Nelson's in it too. He goes, Joe, it's David the Rock. And I go, hey, Rock, what's up, man? Yeah, saw that movie. So you went to the mental institution, huh? And I go, what? He goes, at the end of the doc, you were in the mental institution. And I went, oh, he thinks this was real. And I go, yeah, I was in the mental institution. They had me. He goes, yeah, I saw you tied up in a straitjacket. You were crazy. And I go, yeah, I got better. and then he topped it off with, and you shot yourself in the head. And I go, yeah, I got crazy with that gun. And when I was trying to build that whole thing up and make it look real for a thing here over in St. Pete, a film festival. And I wrote the whole thing about, I pulled a gun to my head, I pulled the trigger, I shot myself, I got incarcerated in the mental institution where I was halfway beat to death. And to make it so my sister read it, called me, and she goes, Joe, you better not have shot yourself with a gun. And I go, no, that was just some publicity. That was probably the wrong angle to go. But yeah, it was all tied in with Fall of an Actor. And if nobody's seen Fall of an Actor, I say get it. It's a documentary. It's funny. It's shot like it's all real. It looks pretty real. But see the Fall of an Actor because it's shot like a movie. So it's got different scenes in it. You watch Fall of an Actor, some of the scenes you'll see, but in the Fall of an Actor, you don't see in Fall of an Actor. So it's two separate movies.
So after that, you got involved in a couple of short films called Kill Her Arnold, The Bronze Princess, and Andrea's Revenge. Why don't you tell us a little bit about those?
What were those for? I thought those were for Always Midnight, but I don't think so. I think Always Midnight had the other ones, but The Bronze Princess, Phil sent me some footage with Nancy Feliciano, but it wasn't coherent. It was just different shots of her. And I thought because I like to think I'm a master of taking a bunch of footage, kind of like Ed Wood, and saying, I'll take that. And, like Ed Wood, when in the movie Ed Wood, he says, he goes, oh, the military was called in, and it's making all the buffalo excited. He put it in. That's kind of what I do. I'll throw shit together like that and say, oh, this, I'll put that in there and this in there and make it work. So, Bronze Princess. So I made that. I got my friend Warren. I said to you, Warren Madden, if you want to be in this movie, I'll put you in it because I trust you. I know you can act, and I know you can improv because I saw him do it in Brain Robbers from Outer Space. So I went over to by where he lives, and we shot this whole thing about there was vampires in the woods, kind of again shot like my character, I think his character was Cole, and I was this cameraman, and he was telling me how the vampires were loose in this weird world, and they were all trying to worship the Bronze Princess. And in the end, I remember he goes, "Oh, they're coming after us." And then we both ran, and the camera's running, and the camera crashed. It was kind of dumb, but fun. Probably the least liked if people would saw it and went, "This is kind of dumb," because it was just me pointing the camera at him talking and trying to make something out of the footage I had. And what else was on there?
That would be Andrea's Revenge and
Andrea's Revenge was a friend of mine.
Arnold.
And Killer Arnold. Yeah, that was son of a bitch. Was it Always Midnight? I think that was for Always Midnight.
Okay.
Because we did a wraparound with Andrea Dean Van Scoy, who's a well-known writer. She's done a whole bunch of books.
Okay.
And she contacted me one night, and she goes, "Joel, would you make a movie of me, about me?" And I said, yeah. So we set out, went over to her house. I wrote a little, because it's a short, wrote a little thing. Mm-hmm. And I thought it was morbid because she was like, "Well, can we do it about me being dead?" And I was like, "Ugh, I guess if you want." So she's laying on a table they had there. And then we put chairs in her house and people coming in for her funeral. And they're all in there for the funeral. And Kathy, my wife, got up and she would say a few words. "Oh, Andrews, I loved her. She was my friend, but now she's dead." It's just really morbid. And then her husband got up and he goes, "Oh, I love my wife, but she's dead." And he would kiss her goodbye. And I go, "Oh, God, this is so morbid. She's alive." And I think if you watch, I think you can see her chest rising because I didn't tell her to hold her breath. And then two other people. And then my character comes in. And I was basically doing Angus from the Tim Ritter's Creep. And I come in at the kind of the plaid shirt. And I'm like, eh, and I'm sitting in the back and everybody's looking at me. And as I walk up past Kathy, I grab her breast and she's like, "Oh, get away from me, creep." And then I grab the lady next to her and I kind of pinch her and she's like, "Get away." And then I'm hanging over Andrea's body and I'm going, "I'm glad you're dead, you stinking bitch." And then I grab the book. Her book is in her hand. I think it was called Andrew. And I'm trying to pull it, but her hands pull it back. And I pull it and her hands pull it back. And everybody's going, "Hey, leave her alone." And then I snatch the book out of her hands and I run out the door and I run around the corner. And I think it was a point of view shot. Like the camera was there. I run to a fence. I turn around and the camera's looking me in the eye and it's supposed to be Andrea. And I'm going, "Oh, I thought you were dead. I'm sorry. You can have your book back." And the neighbor's dog started going nuts. It was a German Shepherd. It was going, "Row, row, 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 row." And I'm going, I'm thinking in my brain, this is screwing everything up. And I go, wait a minute. No, it's not. So I go, "You're a beast, Andrea. You bark at me. I will give it back." And then I can't remember how it ended. You know what? I can't remember how that ended. But that was Andrea's Revenge. I did that for her. And she liked it. She loved it. And I thought it was decent. I thought it was pretty cool. And it got a release through Phil. I'm pretty sure that was for Always Midnight. And then what was the last one?
That was Killer Arnold.
Yeah, that was, and that's got a lot of people in it that aren't here today anymore. But it kind of like Jerry Allen. When I was going to Florida Motion Picture and TV Association here in Tampa, which I'd done in West Palm Beach too, I was going to all their meetings. I said, "I'm going to shoot a scene. I'm going to bring my camera with me next week if anybody wants to do something." It was about 6 or 7. So one of them was Jerry Allen. Now he worked on Batman, the television show. He worked on Dukes of Hazzard. He worked on some of the Bond movies, Bonanza. He was skinny as a rail, but he was Dan Blocker's stunt double. He had a big suit that he had to wear for Dan Blocker. And he'd tell me all the stories. Him and Dan Blocker, he poured water in his boots. And Dan Blocker would chase, "Son of a bitch," and he would chase him around the set of Bonanza. He died. That was a while ago too, I think. But so he's in it. And then I think there was a couple other people just from the Florida Motion Picture, the higher ups, and they were all in it. And it was about this guy that kept seeing people inside his head. He would always run around his apartment going, "The people in my head, the people in my head," because he would see them like appear, their heads would appear and they would talk to him, but it's all in his head. And I think Gus was in that too. He had a character name that was like, I think he was kind of leading them all. And finally, in the end, it looks like the guy is the one that's crazy. But when the doctor comes over, the guy that's looks like he's crazy through the whole short, all of a sudden you cut to, he opens the door and he goes, she's right over here, Doc. And then you go over and it's Kathy all tied up in a blanket with a bunch of telephone cord around her. And she's going, the people in the head, the people. So it wasn't me that was crazy. It was her that was the nut job. So one of those kind of twist endings.
Okay. Moving forward, you got into a project called Diary of Blood. How did you get involved with that project? Diary of Blood.
Oh, that's Joe Sherlock. This was funny. Joe contacted me and he goes, hey, Joel, I got a movie, a short, a story. It's 3, again, I can't help myself. He goes, it's 3 pages long. It's called Diary of Blood. And I go, cool. He goes, would you shoot it for me? And I go, yeah. So he sends me the script. I print the 3 pages and I look at it just like I did with the bite. And I go, there's so much more here than 3 pages. So I think I turned it into a 21-page script because it was supposed to be a short. Okay. And then got Kathy was the lead. That was going to be her kind of come out role. So Kathy had the lead. Okay. Then I had a very good friend of hers, Red, and he had asked me because Joel, if you could ever, would take a chance on me, I think I could be a good actor. So I made him be the police detective, and he was freaking awesome. I brought my friend James Knowlton in that had worked for me on my television show, The Other Side. And I think I had Ashley Lynn Caputo was in it. Bob Glazer was in it.
Okay.
Some of the interesting stories, too, about how actors help each other. When I was on a shoot in Sarasota, I was doing a movie called Demon. And I heard the director and the producer talking. They're like, the guy just screwed us. And I go, I don't want to get in, your story, but what happened? They go, the actor that was supposed to play the coroner just decided he needed more money and he's not coming unless he gets it. And screw him, we're not paying him, but we don't know what to do. I go, a coroner? I go, I'll get your coroner in 20 minutes. I open my phone up. I call Bob. I go, Bob, it's Joel. I go, can you come to Sarasota? Yeah. I go, come right now. I got your part in the movie. And I showed the director. I go, that's what he looks like. He goes, yeah, tell him to come. And I go, you're going to pay him, right? And I go, you got to pay him. Okay, we'll pay him. So Bob came over, and Dave Vogel, he got me a part in the movie. God, I can't remember that either. It was named something, and it got in a big argument with another movie. There was a tank, and Matt Damon was in it, and they both had the same movie, and they had to change their title to Crazed. It was called Crazed. Okay. Before that, it was called the Fury. But anyway, that's how actors help each other. They, reach out and they'll get them jobs. And that's how I got my job. And then I remember Bob, I'd get him jobs, and Dave Vogel. And then he's working for me. So now we're on Diary of Blood. So we're over at this guy's house. I think I paid him some money to have his house. And it's the first one without Tim, where I said, I got to start paying people. So I pulled everybody. I go, hey, Ashley, come with me. And we go around a corner and I'd pay her. And then she'd leave, and I go, James, come in here. And I'd take him around the corner. I pay him. I paid my wife. I paid everybody on the set. Not a lot, but some is better than nothing. And then we shot the whole movie and brought the tapes home, sent them to Joe. I go, Joe, it's all done. Here's the movie. And I did one scene with Ashley at the end where she takes her top off, and she's all there. And I do remember him telling me, I was going to take that footage and release it. I go, no, that's I guess it's yours, but make the movie. Don't just release some boobs. So occasionally I'd but in the meantime, I taught myself how to edit and, how to, get the footage in the computer and all that. So I did that in like 2000, I think, or 2001, 2002, because I was shooting stuff at a convention and I went home and taught myself how to edit. So now Diary of Blood, I sent it to Joe Sherlock. Joe, you got to let me tell this story, buddy, because sometimes shit happens. So I send the footage to Joe. So every 2-3 months, I check with Joe. I call him up. I go, Joe, it's Joel. How's it going? Pretty good, man. I go, how's Diary of Blood coming? I'm anxious to see it come out in your trilogy, because he was going to release a trilogy of terror or something. And he goes, yeah, I'm still working on it. I go, okay, cool. I understand. So it goes to 4 or 5 months. I call him. I go, Joe, what's going on at the movie? Yeah, I'm still working on it. Anyway, 6 months, 8 months. Finally, an entire year has gone by. Joe, I love you, man. You got to laugh with me, buddy, because I know you got busy. Joe, how's it going at the movie? When's it coming out? I got to be honest with you. I go, what? It's still sitting on top of my fireplace. I haven't even looked at the footage. I go, Joe, send that back to me. I'll send you $200. I own the rights now. Send that footage back to me. And he goes, oh, I'm sorry. I go, no, don't worry about it. Just get it back to me. I want to get it out. So I paid him $200. Because that was the footage. He had already paid for the tape, so I'm buying that back. But I said, I'm including that as it's my movie now. Now it's my movie. But I still put Joe Sherlock and Joel Wynkoop's Diary of Blood. Anyway, so I get the footage back. Man, I downloaded that 3 days later. The movie was done and put it aside. And it didn't come out until I had 3 other stories. And that's why it got released in a DVD called The Wynkoop Tales. Because there's 4 short stories. Diary of Blood was one of them.
Okay. Which I just so happen to have right here.
Hey, that's it from, Chris Woods released that through the Sleaze box. Yep. I mean, I released it first in a red cover, and I sold a lot of them. And then Chris approached me. He goes, look, I want you to sign a deal with me for Wynkoop Tales. And he goes, and then I'll make a new cover, and I'll sell it, and you'll make money after I make my money back, which I know they all work like that. That's fine. Because, you can't expect somebody to put up $900 or whatever it might be, and then it's not like you're going to just transfer the $900. No, the guy's got to make all his money back before you start making money. So yeah, and then it was released through Chris, and that is Diary of Blood. What else is on the cover? Diary of Blood, Psychos Are Us,
Dead End, and Tainted Love.
End and Tainted Love. And Tainted Love is something I did for John Miller. He just had got started making movies, and he asked me, because you and Kathy come over. He goes, Chris is not around. This is when Chris and John were working together.
Director, correct?
Yeah. And Chris and John were working together then, but he wanted to do something on his own. I think Chris was busy, so I went over there, because I remember John telling me, he goes, quit stamping on my neighbors downstairs are going to get mad at me. And I'm like, oh, sorry, because I get carried away. Anyway, and John wanted to go one way with it. It was more nasty than I was pretty nasty already, saying, you bet you don't do anything. I'm trying to get a job. But his was really, you slutty whore from the shit of the toilet, and I was like, I don't want to do that. But we did it, and I think it had a different name, and it played at of all places, these guys put on a little thing called Joel Wynkoop Day. I used to have these at the Tampa Picture Show, but this guy did it at his own coffee shop that he owned, and he said, hey, it's Joel Wynkoop Day, everybody come, which is really neat, because I walked in the door, and Greg Lassar, who really liked a lot of my stuff, he goes, everybody, Joel Wynkoop's here, and all these people were applauding, kind of embarrassing, but cool at the same time. But that played there, and I remember another guy, Mitchell, coming to me and saying, man, I thought my story was dark. Yours is really dark. Because I ended up selling the wife to a big convict, which is Ken Anthony, at the end of that. But that was in there. And then Dead End, which also played at I think an action film festival. Everybody put their action movies. And so I put that in there. And then the other short, I 4 kind of neat little action horror-based shorts. And I put them all into that Wynkoop Tales.
Okay. And
Blood was one.
How has the reception been of this particular DVD?
Well, I remember the Dead End played at the Action Film Challenge. And I do remember when it was at its height of the story, my character said, we're going to the Bloody Woods and we're getting my daughter back. And the guy, Anthony Wayne again, which I put on all my stuff, and he's in the Craigslist Incident too. He goes, okay, Dad. And everybody cheered, because I think I got so worked up in the scene. I go, we're going to the Bloody Woods without the police, and we're getting my daughter back, or whatever her name was. And everybody was like cheering, like, hey! So they liked that. But then there was one guy going, that park, that's the same place you shot the other scene. I'm like, oh, I told myself when I was doing it, I go, this is a mistake. Someone's going to say, they're going to recognize this scene here in the park, and this scene where we're shooting for the entrance of it didn't matter. It could have been the same place, but it just kind of pissed me off that the guy doesn't take in any effort of the story, the acting, or whatever like that. He just goes, that scene's the same as that scene. But I thought it was a cool little story because it was about these devil worshippers and me, and I wanted to do something like supernatural, like the TV show with the brothers, but I was going to do the dad and the son. Everybody kind of laughed at that, I think, because they said there's no way I could be the dad to what Kathy looks like and what Anthony looks like. But that's the part of losing yourself, in a movie. So on the big screen, it was taken well. And then on the Wynkoop Tales, a lot of people saw it and they really enjoyed, as a whole, they enjoyed the whole thing. Okay. But I've had people point out where they go, oh, I like that one where you're in the woods and Bob Glazer's in it and Jules Sierra's in it. And they're all trying to kill your wife and she's chained to a tree and the bad killer's coming up and yelling at her and threatening to kill her. And so, yeah, and they all got a good mixture of that where everybody, really seemed to enjoy all those stories.
So ultimately, a little bit later, that's when pandemic happened, and then so you decided that that COVID-19 wasn't going to stop you from making films. Correct?
When that hit, first of all, we heard, it's funny because I saw a movie after that where these two girls were in a car and they're driving. She's going, oh, Mom, listen on the radio over in the other country. They're killing each other and they're going crazy and there's some kind of worldwide pandemic. And then as she's driving her car and she's in the States, somebody runs and jumps on the hood of her car and then people are stabbing each other and they're trying to break it. It quickly came in the movie. And I went, oh, my God, that's what's happening right now is in that movie. And except for, we didn't have people jumping on our cars and smashing through windows, but I was like, oh my God, what if that happened? But anyway, so it got here and it was on television. They're going, stay at your home, don't go anywhere, blah, 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 blah. So I took it all like, oh, I can't even go outside my door. What? So I told my wife, I go, what? They mean I can't go anywhere and do anything? She goes, no, honey, they mean you can go to the store and come home, but they don't want you going downtown and hanging out. And in your case, shooting a movie. And I go, well, no one's going to tell me I got to stay inside. I'm going to go outside and shoot a movie. So I stepped out on the porch. I took my camera and I took her and I go, yep, that's it. I go, shoot me, talk. I'm going to talk to the camera. So I went, you humans, we will destroy you because all you people of Earth are stupid, 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 stupid. Because I said, I'm going to do an homage to Plan 9. And then I said, now stand here and I'll do myself talking to myself as the human. And I go, you tricky alien, what do you want? And then she flipped the camera because I was doing it right in my head. I had to keep flipping the camera. I couldn't do it do all my stuff because I didn't know what I was going to say. And then I did that little bit and I was done. I made a little movie and I watched it and I go, this is kind of cool. And then I edited it and I go, this is kind of stupid, but kind of funny. And then I called Phil and I go, Phil, you want to do something for this stupid, funny, dumbass movie I'm doing? It's going to amount to absolutely nothing, but it'll be fun for you. All right, man. So he goes out, ducks the cops, sneaks into a park, shoots all these scenes for him. Oh, no, we had all the phone calls first, the silly phone calls. And then I go, I'll get Sean C. Phillips and see if he wants to do something. He's like, yeah, Joel. I couldn't get Sean to go out of his house, though, to do anything. Everything had to be done in his house or just outside the house. But I made it work. I go, you're talking on the phone to us. So he did his stuff. So we got a silly little thing. I cut it all together. And I go, what if I added aliens to the now real alien? I got that alien mask. Let me do that. And then, I got this thing that looks like a laser gun. I wonder if Phil wants to go out in the woods. And that's where the cops weren't looking. He ducked under the police line. He went out into this place that's condemned. And he shot all the scenes. And he said when he came out, they caught him. They go, don't ever do that again. He goes, I'm sorry, but my buddy Joel Wynkoop needs this. He goes, we don't care about your buddy. Don't ever do that again. And Phil's like, okay, sorry. So he got to be all this great footage. And then Sean did his footage in his house. But I said, well, can you go outside? But he was really scared because he didn't want to have the gun because I sent him the gun to San Diego. But he was afraid of getting busted by the police and he didn't want to go anywhere. And then, of course, COVID and everything. He's worried about that, which I sympathized. But I got him to shoot his scenes in the backyard, and then I mucked it up with special effects to kind of cover it. And then I'm looking at that footage, and then I'm like, I got to get Debbie Rashawn in this, and Kathy will be in it, and Rick Danford will be in it. And all these other actors that have been in movies. Warren Madden, I'll put him in it. And Then I built this whole thing I called the World Conference. And before you knew it, I go, God, I got a 2-hour movie here that was like 7 minutes outside my house on the front porch. And I go, and then I was making up the names. Like, we are the Craiglons. And I'm like, oh, that's a cool idea, the Craiglon incident. I went to the post office one night. It's 3 o'clock. My wife was going to kill me. She came. We went to the post office at 3 o'clock in the morning. I go, they leave their doors open at night. I'm going to go in there and shoot the movie. So I went in there, and we got in a kind of a little argument. And I go, just wait in the car. Then I was tired, and I was trying to get done. She was tired. I mean, it's 3 a.m. So she went and sat in the van, and I set the tripod up, and I shot the rest of the thing myself with me talking to the alien. I put the alien mask on and the suit. I ran up against it. I did all that dialogue. Then I took it off, got my regular clothes, did all my dialogue, cut all that together. It's in the first one. And then all of a sudden I had a 2-hour movie, and I go, I shot too much. I'll never get this in one. I'll have to make a second movie. So I took all that footage, put it together, got all done with it. And I go, oh man, I'm going to need a third movie. And then it's when like Dustin Hubbard wrote to me, he goes, Craiglon Incident 2, such and such, Craiglon Incident 3, Annihilation, Craiglon Incident 4. And my wife was getting really mad. No, I'm going to tell these people, don't egg you on. I don't want you doing it. I never see you anymore. No, there's not going to be a Craiglon Incident 16. I go, baby, don't worry. I'm wrapping it up in part 3. I'm done. And so that's where I ended up now. And Annihilation, just like I took Lost Faith from my nephew, Dustin, that was one of his names. Craiglon Incident 3, Annihilation. I go, can I have that and use that? He goes, yeah, man, it's for you. And I go, that's what I'm using. But I'm not going to do the other ones. So that's what I'm doing now. I got 10 more footage, 10 more minutes. Yeah, Craiglon Incident 2 Aftermath is done. And the next one is Craiglon Incident Annihilation. In fact, I just did a trailer. It's you can see that on my Facebook page. It's a 3-minute trailer for that. It's got a lot of the scenes are going to be in it. But I have 10 more minutes of footage that I want to shoot to there's a scene in there that I wanted to have where my character is killed, and then the aliens reach out to the other heroes so I could put them back a little bit more in the movie, because they only shot me so much stuff, so I couldn't do it. And then Phil said, he goes, dude, the cops are there. I'm not going back in there. But it was such a cool location because he used it in Horror Tales. He did actually go back. And but yeah, so that's my next one. So I wanted to show this, bring the Emil back and Phil back and a couple other friends that are actors. I always feel like for my friends that are actors that aren't doing a lot of work, I try and reach out to them and they go, hey man, I'll put you in this, even at the expense of it pushes me overtime. And I'm like, no, I got to get my friends in there, and they're counting on me to be in the movie. I did that with Debbie Rashan, and Debbie sent me so much footage. It was great, but I couldn't fit it all into Horror Tales. And she's in, Debbie Rashan's also in the Craiglon Incident, and she's in the Craiglon Incident 2. And her scene in the first one is great when she's in the World Conference, but in the second one, it's really funny too. That's when a reporter's chasing her, trying to ask her, and she's saying, go fuck yourself and stuff like that. So that's really funny. But yeah, and then I got some stuff where a lot of people shot some footage for me where they're with machine guns out in the woods shooting the aliens, and I did all those. And then my Australian guy, Gerardo Chiaro in Australia, he does all my special effects, and he's working on them. And then the last things I did were kind of some victim stuff where they're talking to the camera like, hey, we've been trapped and we can't escape because the aliens got us. And then I put it all together and make it all work. That'll be a guy, William A. Horton. He's an actor here, and he's kind of the one I run to for my tie togethers. He'll be doing like a newscast, and he'll say, we're going to take you to Phoenix, Arizona, where we received this footage from somebody. And then you'll see that footage, and then it'll go back to him. So it's a whole coherent story, but I just crammed so much into it. So I hope everybody, I got a lot of good feedback on the Craiglon Incident, the first one, and part 2. I think a lot more on part 1, which I thought part 2 was cooler, but in part 3, I hope people really like it and are going, oh man, that's cool, because a lot of it's effect driven, and I'm hoping so.
Okay. And I guess, are you working on a project called Beast Mode?
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Then we were doing Beast Mode when we did Tampa Bay Screams. Debbie Rashawn and Lloyd Kaufman were down here, and I've known Lloyd since 2000. Well, I've known him as knowing him, but I mean actually meeting him. I met him in 2004, and we became what I would call good friends. Not like we're talking to each other every day, but I caught some video that there's no reason for him to have done that, but because I wasn't there. He didn't have to say my name, but I caught the video. Somebody shot and put it on my page. They go, look, Lloyd's talking about you. Lloyd was up in front doing the screening of Nukem High, Return to Nukem High. And he did a little spiel up there with Debbie. He goes, I was just up in Joel Wynkoop in his hotel room last night. Joel Wynkoop's a really great independent director, and he's very kind and knows what he's doing, and it was really great to work with him. And Debbie was saying all these nice things too. And I didn't have a lot of money, but I said, I can't, I gotta give the president of Troma something. So I pulled Debbie aside. I go, could I get you to come up to the room, shoot some stuff? I'll give you $100. And then I approached Lloyd and I told him the same thing. Lloyd, would you come up and I'll give you $100? I said, you're only going to be there a couple hours. I said, I know it's not a lot, but it's what I can do. Because I got into that mood again. Like I said, Diary of Blood and Paranormal Club, I paid all those actors. So I said, no, it's important for me to be paid. So why should I want to be paid and then not pay these actors? And a lot of filmmakers are like, well, I got this $80,000 camera and I got this $100,000 light packet and I got this $1 million editing and my actors all work for free. Well, that kind of sucks, man. You paid for money for all this other shit, but you won't pay the actors. So I at least try to pay all my actors. So, so we shot all the Debbie scenes, we shot all the Lloyd scenes, and it was kind of cool too, because I had said to begin with, I go, Lloyd, if you want, I can shoot all your scenes now, and then I can intercut it. I'll cut it all together later. I can do that so I can get you out of here. No, Joel, it's okay. I can do it. So as the night went on, as it went from 10 to midnight, and I think we pushed it a little past midnight, then I could see Lloyd was really getting tired. And I remember saying, okay, Lloyd, what am I going to have you do here? He goes, let's just hurry this thing up. And I go, hey, no problem, man. Because I knew that, And so we hurried up and did it. But Lloyd, what a trooper to do something for, here I am, this guy. I'm this nobody doing this movie. I only gave him $100. But I go, well, this is the part I'm going to pull the gun out and shoot you. I need you to fly back on the bed. Is that cool? Can you do that? Yeah, I'll do that for you, Joel. I pull the gun, shoot. He throws himself up in the air, back onto the bed, lands on the bed. And I told him, just lay there still like you're dead. And then, of course, it cuts back to Debbie. And he did it. It was great. And he was done. And I had one of the I think Dustin. I said, Dustin, would you walk Lloyd back to his room? Because that's only professional. So Dustin got him back. Debbie stayed, shot Debbie's scene, paid Debbie. And then Dustin was back by then. I said, Dustin, would you walk Debbie back again? It's the professional thing to do. He got Debbie back to her room. She enjoyed it. So Debbie and I started working with her on Alien Agenda back in 1996, Endangered Species with Kevin Lindemuth. And then we just worked on all these other things together, behind the scenes Killing Spree, and then all my stuff, and then Beast Mode. But I stopped Beast Mode because the guy that I'm working with on that, God, he's going to kill me too. I can't remember his name. I know it. I'm just forgetting right now. What? Yeah, Clint Kelly. And sorry, Clint. Yeah, then because we shot these scenes with Debbie and Lloyd, and then I got Dustin in there, and Kai was in there for a couple scenes, and then I wrote the rest of the script. But Clint was shooting something with Dustin, a couple of movies back to back, which took us straight into COVID. Everything got shut down. So by the time I wanted to go back, we were supposed to go back and shoot Beast Mode in March before any of this COVID crap we heard about. Okay. And it came, and then I told Clint, I go, we can't do this. I said, the whole idea behind Beast Mode, which I wrote, was to go back to 1995 and do a movie like Creep, where my character was funny at first. He's kind of silly, but he takes these drugs from his doctor. But he, instead of taking one, which is to enhance his brain, he takes a bunch that make him get mentally disturbed, but at the same time turn him into, he's got super strength, but he goes on a psychopathic killing spree. And that's what I wanted to go back to. Grabbing girls, picking them over my head, throwing them over my shoulder. I said, we can't do any of this. I can't do that. Now with this thing going on. So we stopped it completely. And I talked to Clint like, I don't know, 6 months ago. He goes, yeah, we got to do beast mode. And I go, yeah. I said, I just don't know how to get around all this. He goes, well, we can ask people, you know, are you vaccinated? That's what it's going to, there's just too many people close, kissing, hugging, too close together. I don't want to shoot a movie and somebody calls me a week later and goes, hey, dumbass, thanks a lot. Now I got COVID because I was in your fucking movie, you know? So I want to be careful. Even though I see a lot of guys shooting movies, they're not using, they're not taking any precautions. And I'm like, I guess it's just, maybe they're saying, oh, we're all vaccinated, don't worry about it. But I'm trying to do things as safe as can be. I just dropped my van off at Kia, and the guy comes out and he goes, I go, how you doing, buddy? And he goes, oh, surviving COVID. I go, yeah, it's still going on. He goes, no, I survived COVID. He goes, I almost died. He goes, I was in the hospital. 8 of our guys got COVID here. The place almost shut down. I go, no shit. And he goes, yeah. And then the guy that gave me the ride home, he goes, I had it, but only 2 or 3 days. It was easy, but 4 or 5 of guys, they were all in the hospital, like dying. And, you know, I don't want to get into that, but, you know, take it more serious because it is out there. It's almost like if you want to say when the Black Plague was here, bubonic plague, people were dying from that all over the place until they got it under control. So going back to do a movie like that, because, you know, how I did Craigslist, everybody shot their scenes. You know, somebody shoots it in San Diego. Somebody shot their scenes in Japan. Somebody shot their scenes in Minnesota. The only people that are together are the people that are together anyway, like Jules Ciaro and Bob Glazier. They see each other all the time. They're best friends. So if something was going to happen, it's going to happen anyway. But here, can you guys shoot this? And they did. People that I was on the set with that I shot, we shot from more than 6 feet away. Everybody was masked up because of all things. I did call it at the end of the movie, this is a true, you know, COVID movie. It was shot during the height of the COVID. And which is funny about it, I went to the press because I said, hey, it's a good story for them. They don't give a shit. They don't care. I'm like, this is something cool I did during a pandemic. Everybody they had on TV, they go, oh, this guy did a 10-second movie over 10 seconds. I got 6 hours, man. And they're just like, nope, nobody would write me back. And I go, whatever, man. I got to do it for me because I enjoy doing it. And if I get it out there and people enjoy it, I put it in the credits. All I want to do is entertain you for 2 hours. You know, that's all I want to do, man.
Well, I thank you for your time. I was actually going to ask you if we could actually schedule something next week so that we can cover the rest of your career. I was hoping to get like your acting career in the second half, but I have to work in an hour or so. But I definitely want you to come back and hopefully the audience out there has enjoyed our conversation so far. I would like to make this a 2-parter. So
oh, cool! I love it. I had a guy. I did his a podcast, and he'll kill me too. I know it's Chris Lito is one of the guys, and I went to their studio and I did it, and he told me out of all the shows they did, the show with me was the most popular, and that made me feel good because I was like, good, I guess, you know, unless they were just tuning in and going, there's that idiot that day, everybody come look at, you know, but he said that was the best podcast they had. The most views was when I was on, and it made me feel good that, hey, people, maybe they're interested in my 40 years of what I've done, you know.
Well, I think that's just the best option for us to go here because there's a lot of ground to cover. So
awesome.
But why don't you tell us where can we find some of your stuff that's out there, at least currently? Do you have a website?
I have a website. I rarely use it. In fact, I don't even know why I keep it up.
Okay.
But it is www.joeldwynkoop.com. But I haven't updated it, or I just don't. I don't like to build that shit. You got to go in there and get the picture and pull it in and size it and make it look like the other. And most of my stuff I just do off of Facebook. If
Okay.
somebody just goes on a Facebook search and they put in my name, Joel D. Wynkoop. I got another one that's actor Joel D. Wynkoop. I don't use that one. I rarely go there. And I got 8 other ones with, Joel D. Wynkoop's Lost Faith, Joel D. Wynkoop The Bite, Joel D. Wynkoop Diary of Blood, Joel D. Wynkoop The Wynkoop Tale. But the one I use mostly is just my name, Joel D. Wynkoop, on Facebook. I've always have, anybody can just write me and go, hey, or sometimes they'll write me, where can I get this movie? And I finally told somebody, I go, look, every movie that I've been in that you want, I've got. Just ask me. I have them. Because I go to my distributors and I go, look, I'll buy 50 of those. And he makes me a price. And I go to this, I'll buy 20. So and they're for conventions, but they're for me to sell. Also, I'm doing something right now where if you buy 1 movie, you get a producer credit in the Craigslist Incident 3. If you buy 3 of my movies, you get executive producer credit. If you buy 10, you get executive producer credit, and you get a title card at the beginning of the movie. Okay. So that's the stuff I push on Facebook. I don't put like pictures of spaghetti and tacos and here's what I ate last night. I don't give a shit. But my movies and stuff are on there, and I put those out there so if somebody wants to buy a copy, they can. And we just also finished Horror Tales 666 Part 2. I edited that for the producer Phil Herman, and it's being released by the Sleazebox. And I'm trying to give Chris Woods I'm saying, hey, I bought these from you a long time ago. I bought 20 copies, but I'm trying to be your friend. I'm not really selling them, but look, at one point, I bought them to sell, not to manicure my lawn with them. So and he understands that. And I think he appreciates that because I'm saying I'm not going to sell them until, Chris and I have that talk on the phone. I go, look, Chris, I want to start selling them too. That's what I bought them for. And if he's like, well, can you just hold out till, the 15th? I'll go, yeah, man, I'll definitely work with you. But that's how it all is. No other Ron Bonk doesn't tell me, okay, you can buy 25 of Creep, but don't sell them for 5 months. That's kind of stupid. Ron's very gracious. I call him up. I go, Ron, I want to buy 20 copies of Creep. Okay. Gives me a kind of a wholesale price. I buy them and then I put them on eBay or I put them on my Facebook and say, look what I got. And nobody's in jeopardy of me of undercutting them because I don't undercut them. I make it higher. So if Ron says it's you get a copy of Creep for $15, I go, you can get the copy of Creep from me for $20, but I'm the guy in the movie and I'll sign it and I always throw in extras. So why wouldn't you want to do that? I would love to get extras, and I package it so well. My wife just got Zack Snyder's Justice League. It was in an envelope like this, as thin as this is the envelope. Opens the envelope and there's the Zack Snyder cut of Justice League, and I'm like, look how much time and that you ask about people. Let me know how they like stuff. Everybody gets back to me and they go, man, I thought this was packed for Fort Knox or something. You open the box and then there's this wrapping and then there's bubble wrap and then there's more bubble wrap and then there's more plastic bags, more bubble wrap. Then I get to the DVD, more bubble wrap, more bags, because I want to make sure if I send somebody something, it don't get broken in the mail. I get things from oldies.com and a couple of them come broke because they got corrugated cardboard. It's tiny, tiny, thin. I don't know how that's protecting it, but I still make it the best I can for people.
Well, thank you so much for spending time with me. It's been an excellent pleasure, and I hope you enjoyed the time too, and I hope that the audience has enjoyed it as well. So definitely, ladies and gentlemen, if we can get together next week, that would be awesome. And like, share, and subscribe, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully, you just go out, buy his films if you can, and give them a watch. So, thank you so much. Enjoy.
Thank you, Dave, very much. I really, really appreciate it, buddy. Thank you so much.